here talking Russell Wilson now. In the latest report that Russ has grown increasingly frustrated with the Seahawks' inability to protect him. I mean, he kind of does have a case, guys. He's been sacked 394 times the last 9 seasons, 69 more times than any other quarterback. It was also reported over the weekend that multiple teams have called to check on Russ's availability in a trade. Brandon, Russ is your guy. What do you make of all of this?
Woo! Jenna, Russell Wilson is beyond frustrated. I think Russell Wilson is trying to figure out how to move on in a classy way. That's what I truly believe. Like, Russ is a guy that's not concerned about, like, how you think about me and what do you think about me. He's really concerned about what type of legacy do I leave behind. He's trying to leave the legacy that he did things the right way so other guys can follow that same blueprint. So I think he struggles with how to move on in a classy way, in a way where people can look at him and say, you know what, he still did it the right way, because that's important for Russ. Here's the problem. The problem, and everybody's talking about it, you got Jason Lockenford talking about, they need to protect him. Well, they drafted one guy, one offensive lineman since they had Russell Wilson. They're always trying to figure out who's the steal out there in free agency, or who's the guy that, you know, should have a bounce-back year, and they never really go out there and solidify that offensive line. Now, a lot of people are like, well, Russell Wilson, you're holding on to the ball a little long. Well, Pete Carroll, the offense that you put in place is we're going to run on first, we're going to run on second, and if it's third and manageable, we're probably going to run on third down, and then we're going to take shots. I was there. We had no quick game. There wasn't an established game outside of Doug Baldwin, and then you had Tyler Lockett, where it was like you had an option route. You either break in or you break out. That was it. So Russell Wilson, if the deep ball's not there, of course he's going to hold on to the ball, definitely when you have that type of offensive line in front of you. So that is the problem. That's one of the problems. The other problem, as we know, is like, are we going to let Russ cook? Russ is a guy, Nick, as you know, he's going to scramble around. He's going to make plays happen. But at the end of the day, you need to decide if you believe in Russ to drop back and throw it 30, 40 times. And I don't think they believe in Russ. Well, actually, I know they don't believe in Russ because I was there. Every day before practice, I would sit there with the quarterbacks, with Coach Shoddy and Russell Wilson, and we would talk shop. And we would also do quarterback drills. I would actually be in the quarterback drills, like dropping back, 3-step drops, 5-step drops, 7-step drop. So I heard a lot of stuff. Well, this week, Pete wants us to run a little bit more. Oh, well, what about this? Can't we get into this a little sooner? Or what about our no-huddle offense? It's like, no, this is what Pete wants. So there's a huge philosophical difference there in Seattle.
But Brandon.
Now, go ahead.
Can I ask you a question? I just want to ask you a question real quick about what you were saying. Because didn't it seem, though, to you that the first half of the year they tried to change that? The first half of the year, the whole story was they were finally letting Russ cook. Is his frustration that they went away from that? Or is his frustration that he didn't have the right ingredients in order to successfully cook all year long? Because they were a different style offense the first half of this season.
It comes down to what Pete Carroll wants, right? You got to think about it. Pete Carroll has been running the same defense for 10 years. We talked about this all year. I said, Nick, everybody in the league knows what's going to happen when you line up in a 3-by-1 on third and short. We got K.J. Wright, who's going to come out and guard Tyreek Hill, that number 3 spot. He's going to run an over route. And you got speed versus a big. It's the same thing. Pete Carroll is a stubborn man. Pete Carroll's awesome. I love Pete Carroll. I can pick up the phone and probably call Pete Carroll, and he probably answer. But at the end of the day, like, I got a job to do. And we know that Pete Carroll's stubborn. So when you look at the defensive side, same thing offensively. He's looking at what did we do to get to those Super Bowls? And that's what they did. They played good defense, and they ran the ball. But you got a once-in-a-lifetime talent in Russell Wilson, a once-in-a-lifetime leader in Russell Wilson. You got to let him cook. LeBron James right now is shooting the ball like he's Ray Allen. He's shooting as if he's one of the greatest shooters the league has ever saw. So what happens if LeBron James had 3 or 4 bad games? Are we going to then go to LeBron and say, LeBron, go do what you've been doing? And that's what they did to Russell Wilson this year. Russell Wilson, they let him cook. He was doing a great job. And then all of a sudden, Nick, he started throwing a couple of picks. And then Pete Carroll, he got a little nervous, got a little anxious. And said,
okay, now,
and went
all right,
back,
so this makes sense now. So it's a combination of the two. It's that you finally were letting me play a modernized offense. I had a bad month, and you immediately said, okay, rip that up. That didn't work. On top of the fact that the team is not doing a good enough job personnel-wise surrounding with pieces, most notably the offensive line. Okay, so I think that's the messaging as far as what's going on in Seattle. Wilds, the other piece of this, I think, for Russ, is we have to recognize Russ's experiences since entering the league and what he has seen, and I think we are seeing this across the NFL, is we are in the era of go for it. Not only go for it, you will be rewarded if you do. Russ's firsthand experience, guess what? The Seahawks were bold. They had just signed Matt Flynn. After 2 weeks of practices, they said, nope, we're going with Russell Wilson. He rewarded them with a championship. The Denver Broncos, we're okay. We have Tebow. We made the playoffs. Go sign Peyton Manning. They go to 2 Super Bowls. They win 1. Philly, we're okay. We're drafting, I think, 11th. Move up to number 2. Draft Carson Wentz. And during the year, acquire players at the trade deadline. You win a Super Bowl. The Chiefs, they had Alex Smith. They made the playoffs. Nope. Trade up, get Mahomes. They go to 2 Super Bowls. Tampa, Jameis Winston, what are we going to do? Go sign Tom Brady. In Russell Wilson's career, there are 2 types of teams that have shown up in the Super Bowl. The ones I listed and the damn Patriots. That's it. So he looks at it and says, what big move are we making? What move are we making?
Yeah.
What is the bold move we're making? And I think it's why Aaron Rodgers is frustrated. He's like, man, look at the Rams. I don't know if it's going to work, but they are going for it. The Chiefs are going for it. The Bucs went for it. And I think Russ is frustrated by that, the offensive style notwithstanding. And Wilds, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I want to get back to what Brandon said, because Brandon, you said that Russ is looking to move on in a classy way. So before we talk about sort of what Seattle can do, I want to look forward to, like, is Russ going to ask out? And you've made the point, you've been very consistent around the Harden trade. You're like, you know what? If you want to win, get out. And if it's got to be ugly, so be it. Yeah. Nobody thinks about it, you know, a week after you're with your new team. And it happened to AD. The New Orleans exit was ugly. Nobody cares. Got a ring. Happened to Harden. We're not talking about it anymore. We're just talking about the Nets. Happened with Brady. Not like Brady's thing was the most clean, beautiful thing in the world, but he's going to go to Foxborough and get a standing ovation, and Belichick does too. So are you saying that Russ is really wants to get out and is trying to, like, not ruffle anybody's feathers?
No, I think Russ wants to stay there, but he knows that Pete Carroll's going to continue to give him the runaround. You know, when it comes down to the offensive coordinator, did I really have a seat at the table? When it comes down to how we approach our offense, are you going to listen? When it comes to, you know, building around the best player on our team, me, are you going to draft an offensive lineman, a center? Are you going to do those things? And I just think it's getting to a point where Russ just doesn't believe. You know, like I said, I was there and I was able to witness this firsthand. And I had to talk to Russ. You know, you go back to the Legion of Boom and all those characters and all those different personalities that they had. What did they do? They cleaned house, and they said, Russ, here you go. It's your team now. Lead us. That's what they did. So when I was there, Russ was actually entering into that phase of not being a leader, but I am the leader on this team. And I used to have to tell Russ, like, man, Russ would come to us and be like, guys, every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, I want to get the whole office together, and I want to go through our entire game plan before the coaches do. I want you guys to hear it from me first, and I also want to get your thoughts. And we had a lot of pushback and from guys that still had that old culture, that old way of thinking from the Legion of Boom days. And I would pull Russ to the side, and I'm like, Russ, we're in week 4, and you're a quarterback. How much money are you making? And who are you? You're one of the greatest teammates I've ever been around. I said, your position, you don't ask us what you want us to do. You tell us what you want us to do. And I think that's what he needs to do here, is tell Pete Carroll exactly what he needs and what he wants. And if the two can't come to a agreement, then it's time for Russ to move on.
Yep.
I'm hearing, Jenna, you have the Bears out there, you have the Miami Dolphins, you have the Las Vegas Raiders, and you also have the New Orleans Saints who've already made calls. So, Pete Carroll, it's on you.
Wow,
Saints.
Brandon Marshall, quarterback whisperer. Lot of big names there. This is a topic that doesn't seem to be going away. Wiles is
Don't blow it,
excited.
Pete.
All right,
Don't
we're
blow
gonna
it,
send
Pete.
you
I love you.
AFC West.